And here we are for a Wednesday afternoon. Now, this Friday night in McGroary's in Culdaff, there's a bit of a musical treat because there's three musical heavyweights, if you like, coming together. They're called On the Road Again, and namely Fiachna Braonáin from the Hothouse Flowers, Tom Dunne, who we know from Something Happens, and then Alan Connor, who mightn't be as well known, but Alan plays in the Late Late Show band. I'm joined anyhow by Fiachna and Tom, who can presumably talk up Alan. Anyhow, they're joining me on the line. Good afternoon to you both.
Good afternoon, John.
I've seen both of you live at a distance on stage, more than once actually. Fiachna, the first time I saw the Hothouse Flowers was at a promo in HMV on Oxford Street back around the time that Don't Go came out.
No way.
Yeah, and it was
Amazing.
I was over working in London at the time, and I went down to see it, and it was such, never mind the music. There was just such pride. There was an Irish band, and they were causing a real buzz, and there was a crowd trying to get in, and the crowd actually seeped out into Oxford Street, and it was such an amazing buzz. I don't know if you remember that. It's just...
I remember it vaguely. I remember the Dublin one much more clearly because we ended up playing on a flatbed truck and we kicked off on HMV in Henry Street. And then we got on the back of this truck that had a PA on it and we played Don't Go all the way up O'Connell Street until we reached Grafton Street. I think we tried to persuade the London HMV people that we might do something similar, but I think I don't think that idea quite flew as well with them.
Right. No, there's supposed to be a bit more restrictions in the heart of London, but it would have been a good idea. It could have worked.
Yeah.
Tom, I've seen you over the years as well, various festivals here and there, and the last time was down in Thurles, the Trip to Tip, the sort of Fela Classical as they called it, which was a great success. Why hasn't it been done again?
I think it might have lived its life. I think really it was such a fresh idea when we came up with it because the bands hadn't played together in so long, and putting all those bands, the Flowers and ourselves and Frank and Waters on the same bill was just it was very exciting. But I don't think you can go back to the well every year. Adding the orchestra was a brilliant idea. I don't know how you can top the orchestra. We started too big. I think really is where this went wrong. We'd maybe started with a quartet on stage with us and then gone to the orchestra. It would have worked,
A few more every year after that.
It was an enormous success, and I have to say it was a great shot in the arm for all the bands because it just to go from playing like Vicar Street size venue to playing in Thurles to 10,000 people, it was just for all of us really brilliant experience. We loved it.
It was a great occasion. I remember then the Stunning actually played, and we were wandering home and we just came across the town hall, and we went in, and lo and behold, the Stunning were playing there, and it was a brilliant night. Brilliant night.
Yeah, sensational. We had it all under control on stage. It was all going really well. All the bands were extremely professional, and I was at the side of the stage, so I was the MC. So I'd ask each band as they went on stage if they needed anything, like a cue from the orchestra or maybe a guitar tuner or something. And then I asked Fiachna's band, Liam, do you guys need anything? And Liam said, a big tray of Guinness would be lovely, Tom.
So that's where it started to go south.
That's where it all went pear-shaped, yeah.
But I have to interject here and say that fortunately the Fela Classical idea then moved, it downscaled again, and by way of celebrating the return of music after the pandemic, it moved to the Three Arena, which is actually without which Tom and I would not be kind of doing this thing on Friday next together, because that was the beginning of our musical journey together.
Okay, so one thing led to another from that night.
Exactly. We were asked to come in and talk about getting, after the pandemic, there was this big gig in the Three Arena. It was the first big gig there. The Hothouse Flowers were on the bill. Something Happens were on the bill. The orchestra were there as well. And of course, the only two members of both bands who could come and talk to Ray Darcy on RTE Radio 1 were myself and Tom, which we did. So we sang, guess what song? We sang On the Road Again. And then we all... we're both huge Willie Nelson fans. And that's where we connected musically, Tom had never had anybody sing harmony with him. So
Never in my life.
I
No,
was
Never
that
in my
boy.
life.
yeah,
Yeah,
properly.
40 years now being Something Happens, not a backing vocal on one of our records, not a backing vocal in one of our gigs.
Mm.
And we were in doing the session, we were doing Christy Moore's John of Dreams. And I heard
Yeah.
this other voice in my cans. And I thought, is somebody out in the mixing room singing along with us?
Mm.
Or what's the story?
Mm.
And it took me a good few minutes to realize that actually Fiachna was singing. I couldn't get over it. I was, I was as dumbstruck then as I am now.
Yeah,
But
and
I
look,
loved it. It was the thing that put it in our heads that maybe we should do something, because it was just, I think when you're in a band, you tend to think in terms of that band, and it's your life, and so it should be. But the idea that you can do other stuff and that people bring different things to the table, that Fiachna has a whole different wealth of experience to what my friends Something Happens have. We're a much more punk rock type of outfit.
mm.
Um, Fiachna is very versed in people like the Bothy bands and Planksty and this whole other kind of whole scope of instruments and influences that I've never thought of. But it's lovely to sing with those things, and it's really um, it's very intriguing to hear how different people approach songwriting and how their influences. And the big thing I think we're discovering, isn't it, that how often you have very disparate influences, but it ends up going in the same direction. Uh,
Absolutely.
which I keep saying in shows, whether you get on the trad bus or you get on the punk rock bus, you ended up in a very similar place
Yeah.
at the end of it, which is amazing. It just stops me in my tracks every night.
This collective, about 50 shows in, this is your first one in Donegal. To your
Mm.
shame, this is your first in Donegal.
Yes.
Hopefully, it won't be the last. But it must. I mean, what can people expect on Friday night?
Well, we sat in the very room that I'm sitting talking to you now for weeks on end. We got together many mornings in a row, and we just batted songs to and fro. So Something Happened songs, Hothouse Flowers songs, some of my own songs, some traditional songs, some cover songs, and a song that we've started writing some songs ourselves as well. So it's a little bit of all of that, and then we'll be, I guess, putting some flesh on the bones of the songs by talking a bit about them as well. There are stories behind some of these pieces of music and some of these songs that reveal themselves as the show progresses.
Some of
So
those stories, like I do, it's not just limited to our musical experiences. I dwell on or draw from my own experiences on radio, where I got to interview an awful lot of people on my show. One of them was Brian Wilson. I got to interview Brian Wilson 5 times during my life, and I tell the story of that kind of changing relationship from being in awe of him, to trying to hide around the corner when he was looking for me.
That's a journey.
I discovered he was quite the difficult interviewee. It took me a while, and there was times I felt I was very in his world, and sometimes I felt I was too much in his world. So I tell that story, and we do God Only Knows, which we think is one of the greatest songs of all time. And Fiachna plays this low whistle on it, which is like nothing else I've ever heard. And Alan Connor on the piano is one of the seven wonders of the world. It's a remarkable thing to be a part of. It really is.
Brilliant.
I'd
an extraordinary musician.
Yeah, he really is. We haven't bigged him up at all,
No,
Fiachna.
we haven't. That's why I'm just was conscious that we've got a big Alan up now. I mean, Alan he plays piano, he plays guitar, and not only that, but he plays percussion with his feet while he's playing piano and guitar pretty much at the same time. He's also a great singer.
Yeah, and it's the little touches though. There's a piece of music that Fiachna wrote that's absolutely gorgeous called Winter Sun. I absolutely adore it. But there's this moment where Alan plays this little kind of piece, little new intro on it. And
Yeah.
Fiachna and I look at each other every night when he does it. It's just this moment of, did you hear that? Did you hear that?
You've
Someone
also
stopped me. Someone stopped me and said that the difference they feel between our bands and what we're doing now is the musicality. And I think I would go along with that. I think that is a different thing. It's just a three piece. There's no hiding on stage, and I think what Alan weaves into the whole thing is just absolutely marvelous.
Yeah.
It's hard to not stop playing and just stare at him, to be honest.
That's
During
good.
some of the
That's
shows.
enough. That's enough bigging up for now. Yeah.
Enough, enough.
Alan is big
He
up.
can't be
Well,
that good.
actually,
He
just
can't be that good.
one last little thing that Tom often, when he starts the intro to one of your songs, one of the classic Something Happened songs, and he plays this piano intro to it, and Tom, you keep saying it just makes it sound like a Bruce Springsteen song. It has this sort of
Yeah, it does.
epic widescreen feel to it. It's
And it's
beautiful.
incredible how that changes the song. That song is Beach, and that's about
Yeah,
seeing a girl in a cinema.
yeah.
And it just takes on this whole different feel. And it's like a story song now where you're
Mm.
talking about this person and developing her personality and who she is and how you came to see her and all these things. It's just a different song. As you can tell, we're a bit awestruck at times.
And I can tell enthusiastic and excited as well, which is great to hear. I mean, you're over 50 shows into this now, touring as part of this collective. But you wouldn't be doing, I get the impression that you wouldn't be doing this or doing this in this particular way unless you were really happy with it and happy about it, and just it was just
Oh,
something
totally.
you like doing.
Totally. I think we're both very busy. Trying to carve time out of our lives is very tough.
Yeah.
But honestly, if we can get a chance to record some songs, they will just be so beautiful. Willie Nelson is a big influence. We play a few of his songs,
Mm.
and there's a common ground there. And that thing about trad and punk going in the same direction, it's so true. There's just an authenticity to some music that is so special. So I think if we can manage to carve, Fiachna's very busy with the flowers at the moment. The happens have kicked back into action too. But if towards the end of the summer we can carve some time out, I think people will be delighted with the recordings. They'd be gorgeous.
Oh,
Yeah.
great. Okay. Well, we look forward to that. Is it? I mean, did both of you have to, in a way, compromise? I mean, you mentioned there about traditional and punk having to come together for this show. Was it a compromise, or was it just a great learning curve? Fiachna.
It doesn't feel like there's no compromising at all. We come off we devised this show in sort of it's a show of two halves, and we devised it in my local theatre where the key was always kept under the mat for me for years to try something out. And then when Tom and I clicked on this, the beginnings of this project, as it were, or this collaboration, we tried it out in my local theatre first. And so there hasn't been a show since that where we've come off without marveling at
Yeah.
how blessed and lucky we feel to be doing this.
Mm.
And we're genuinely delighted with ourselves. So there is no compromise in traditional music, and there's no compromise in punk rock. They both are about freedom, and they both to some degree are about anarchy. And that when you apply that to musicality and to musical sensibilities, it creates this feeling, that transporting feeling of uplift that we both have lived for all of our lives and still do, and are so thrilled that we're able to still
Yeah.
do that.
I'd say for me, it feels like a bit of a journey. It would be the word I'd use to describe it more. I think when you get into a band and you start making music, you end up with more questions than you have answers. You're constantly intrigued by how people came to write certain songs, what was happening. And when you meet somebody else from a different tradition and you see that kind of curiosity in them, it's even more intriguing. And I find the more I go on and the more songs I hear, what the person was trying to say, the more enthused I am by the whole thing. So getting to play these gigs of Fiachna and Alan is just it's a total joy. There's no getting away from that.
And do you find that no two nights are the same?
It seems that way, and it's funny we haven't really varied the set. But I remember initially when we were kind of thinking, is that a bad thing? I couldn't help thinking of Bruce Springsteen and his 300 nights or whatever on Broadway, where he wouldn't change a note. He wouldn't change a note, and felt that something else developed in that. That when you knew where all the kind of pillars were, you changed around them. What you wove around them changed. Maybe the stories or how you felt, how it reacted with the audience. And that seems to be the way it's going with this. It just, there are these pillars, you can depend on. They're great songs. And these are songs we wrote when we were kids, so to be singing them now,
Mm.
40 years after Live Aid, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
there is a bit of looking back in your life and what was going on in your head at the time and what you were projecting forward and what did happen. So it feels like a journey still
Mm.
and different. Yeah, it definitely feels different every night, doesn't it?
It totally does. I mean, every room. I mean, the way you play, the way your musicality is impacted by the sound that you're given in each room, and every room in the country sounds different. By the energy you get from the audience, of course, crucially is similar too. If the audience is sitting up or standing up or sitting down or whatever, lends a different energy to how you play the songs on any given night.
Mm. McGroary's is a great venue. I don't know if either of you have played there before, but it's a great live music venue.
Yeah, many moons ago, we were on the night after, a legend, the man who sang "May You Never." What's his name again?
John Martin.
John Martin. Yeah, we were on the night after John Martin, and everyone was just talking about John Martin all night long. Apparently, he was magical the night before. They were more or less saying, "You guys were great tonight, but you should have been here last night." Tom.
But. Well, whoever's on Saturday night, they'll be saying the exact same thing to them. Listen, I look forward to it. I enjoy the gig, and that's happening on Friday night. I think there still might be some tickets left for that. It's in McGroary's in Culdaff, and it's with you, Fiachna, and you, Tom, and Alan Connor, who we've talked about at length. And
too big for interviews.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously. Yeah.
John, the good people of McGroary's did want me to stress that actually, if people have trouble with links or clicking online and getting tickets that way, they do have paper tickets available at the reception of the hotel.
Oh, okay.
Paper
Okay.
tickets. My word.
Remember them. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, listen, a pleasure chatting to both of you. Good luck with this gig and all the others to come, and with the recording as well. Look forward to hearing the results of that. So thanks.
Thanks very much. Lovely talking to you,
John.
Thanks a lot.
Around the Northwest with Virgin Media. Winners of